Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our channel. The sit-at-home order given by the indigenous people of Biafra on October 1st came as a rude shock over the successes recorded around Southeast. And of course, it has prompted prominent Igbo leaders to actually look into this issue of secession, Biafra agitation, and the way around it. They are giving us suggestions and actually calling out stakeholders in this matter. Before we go into the newspaper to find out exactly what the Igbos are looking at over this issue of secession and agitation, agitation for Biafra rather, we like you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as you update our channel on YouTube. Well, prominent Igbo leaders are beginning to talk. Well, leaders have opened up on why the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu enjoy the sympathy of Igbo despite government's clampdown on them. Former Minister of Power Professor Chinedu Nebo and the chieftain of the All Progressive Congress APC, Chief Chukwueze Okorie, who spoke at the inauguration of new executive members of the Correspondent Chapel Nigerian Union of Journalists (NUJ) Enugu State Council in Enugu, agreed that the injustice against Igbo needed to be resolved immediately to end the agitation. Professor Nebo, who was the guest speaker at the event, who spoke on Igbo presidency, stated that the fight by IPOB, that's Indigenous People of Biafra, and Kanu was born out of unspeakable treatment of Igbo that have made the young people lose faith in the country. The former Vice Chancellor of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, said the clamor for the state of Biafra to be born was born out of the massive ill treatment of Igbo, disenfranchisement of Igbo, the unspeakable treatment of Igbo that have driven many of our young people to despair and despondency. That is why the indigenous people of Biafra was born. Unfortunately, their methods are horrible, not defensible, unacceptable, and they are not passing on whatever it is they want to pass on the right way. So when you talk to the typical young person in Igbo land, they feel like there is no hope for them in the entity called Nigeria, and that is why some of them are so determined to the point of giving their lives to have independence and to become free from the shackle that Nigeria has placed on Igbo. I have always believed in one strong viral country called Nigeria. Together we are stronger, we are better, we are more massive, and we can turn lots of the country around, and in so doing turn the cause of the black man around. The dismemberment of Nigeria is not in the best interest of the black race. But in order to prevent the dismemberment, Igbo must be given a pride of place again in this country, and that pride of place must come from an Igbo man mounting the saddle of presidency in Nigeria. I think this is very important because if it does not happen, more and more people will become restive and it's becoming obvious. For instance, right now, one of the most neglected geopolitical zones in the country is the Southeast. If you think in terms of infrastructure, it is like the federal government sometimes forgets that there is a place called the southeastern part of Nigeria with regards to the distribution of amenities and infrastructure. He noted that the reason the North could be afraid of the Southeast is that the Southeast has been so marginalized and abused that if the Southeast ever gets the presidency, the people will revenge. They don't understand that our culture is not that way. We do not revenge. You will see an Igbo person or Igbo president who will make sure that no part of Nigeria is left behind. Chief Okorie, who was the chairman of the occasion, also noted that Nnamdi Kanu is pursuing an agenda that borders on marginalization, persecution, alienation of the Igbo people. He didn't start it. Ralph Uwazurike started it. And somewhere along the line, Ralph Waziriki's effort began to wane, and he came into it on 2012 with Radio Biafra. The major vision that informed the formation of APGA was to give an Igbo man an opportunity to contest, because prior to that time, we couldn't be given opportunity to contest, let alone failing or winning because of the political structure of Nigeria. Otherwise, nothing would have made Dr. Alex Ekweme not to be the candidate of PDP and probably be the first Igbo president of Nigeria. But that conspiracy, relying on the lopsided structure of Nigeria, denied him that, as in spite of his great qualification for that office. So when people talk today and say about merit and competence and all that, I don't think Igbo people are lacking in very competent and meritorious persons to lift Nigeria to a very enviable height. Okorie, who said Igbo have at least 25% of the voting population of Nigeria in every state of the country, added, "We have a major duty to do because everybody says we don't have the number. Even the president of Nigeria said we are just a dot in a circle." But when he came to Owerri and saw Igbo leaders under one roof, the people they said will never speak in one voice, the same man, in a convivial atmosphere, said Igbo people control the economy of the whole country. So how did you reconcile that? It's a very strong statement. Really very strong, and it's actually very touching. Now, he was able to truly picture the situation. He married the situation where it all began from the marginalization of the Ndibos. Some persons have been saying that the Ndibos are not social enough to know that they should contest. But we should be truthful to ourselves. A lot of Ndibos joined PDP with the hope that they'll be given the mandate and the mantle of leadership and rulership when the time comes. But at some point, it became obvious that whatever the mandate and rulership would look like, it will always be the best Igbo man will get is the third man in command, which is probably the Senate president. Okay, but somehow along the line, it's either you get a northerner as the president, a southwesterner as the vice, or a southwesterner as the president, a northerner as the vice. Worst case scenario, the middle belter or the Igbo man takes the third position, which is probably the Senate president position. Now it has been on and on until APGA was formed, with the mandate of carrying the party structure as an Igbo man. But somewhere along the line, APGA is just a party well formed and known only in the southeast. It's not so strong in the southwest. It's not even felt at all in the north. So you now see that they still have that problem of integration. Now, they are bringing that, much as you would want to criticize and probably crucify Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but IPOB was born out of the marginalization of the average Igbo man, and hence the sympathy that we always keep getting each time IPOB is mentioned. So to get that right, he's saying the only way the Igbo man can stop the secession agenda is for you to integrate the Igbo man back into the helms of affairs of Nigeria. Do you agree with that? Let's meet in our conversation. What's your take on that?